What's up, everybody? You guys made it just in the nick of crime. We have some very interesting Diddy updates today. And I will tell you, they've already gone to lunch and they've come back, and I've seen some of what's happening in court currently. And trust me when I tell you, you are not going to want to miss the end of the day recap. I'm going to tell you that part right now. Before we get into this, there's a couple things that I want to say. First, if you are watching this on TikTok, please tap that screen. We're almost at 10,000. Let's get it there. At the same time, I'm going to be having some very interesting graphics today. Nothing like you have to see, but the sketch artist has been bringing it today. He really is. It's definitely checking the vibe, or definitely passing the vibe check on what he's been doing. But yeah. So if you want to come over and see those, you can. If you're watching this on Insta, YouTube, or Facebook, you don't have to go anywhere. You'll see them right there. That being said, you guys, can y'all hear me on YouTube? Because they're saying that they can't. Some people are saying they can, some people they can't. So some of y'all, it's you guys, some of it's just me. Okay, y'all can hear. Sorry, we have some issues sometimes. Turn your volume up. That's a good thing. Anyways, lots of interesting things going on. Before we do, though, I want to give you guys an update on something that has really impacted me, and we're going to talk about this real quick. I want to give you an update on the Travis Decker situation. If you don't know about this situation, Travis Decker is the father of these three beautiful girls, Olivia, Evelyn, and Peyton. They were 5, 8, and 9, and he took their lives. And he is still on the run. And right now, he's not been captured. And basically the latest update we have is that he could be anywhere in the nation. At first, it was like show his picture, show everything to people in Washington State and the surrounding areas. But right now, they have the FBI, Department of Homeland Security on it, as well as various municipalities. And they say that he could be anywhere in the nation. It doesn't sound like they think his soul is off this earth. Let's put it that way. They don't think that that's the case yet, based on what I'm reading. Real quick, if you don't know what he looks like, I put this this wanted poster on my Facebook, Substack, and Instagram. I don't care about credit. I just want him found. Please go steal it, screenshot it, use it on your own platforms, whatever the case is. That is why I made it. Please do that and try to get him found. Get this to be shared with everyone that you can. There are two things that I kind of want to address too this morning. So first of all, like, there are certain cases that have really impacted me over the course of years covering this, and this is one of them. This is in the top 3. One was Audrey Cunningham. The other was baby Elena Hembry, which is horrible. Don't look that one up. And now this one. And I've been losing sleep over this one. It's really bothered me. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I just, like, last night, I'm not gonna share this information with y'all, but they released the cause and manner of the girls' deaths. And I should not have read that. And I'm going to say that even if you guys have this morbid curiosity, I'm going to say probably don't want to read it as to what happened to these girls. What I can tell you, what I will tell you, is that based on cell phone data and things like that, it appears that this was premeditated. All right. It appears that this was premeditated. So, if you've already read it, I'm going to implore you, please don't share in the comments as to what happened. It is horrific. It is gruesome. And just don't. You don't want to know. I promise you, you don't want to know. Just find him. Share this everywhere. Get his picture out there. I will do an update later today. And I'll do this on all platforms, every one of them. So no matter who's watching, that shows what he could possibly look like shaved. Because I'm sure if he is still alive and out there, he's probably shaved the facial hair off. So I'll give you guys another photo as well that you guys can share out there. So that's one thing I wanted to say. The other thing that I want to say is this. I did a video response, and if you've seen it on my platform, on all the platforms, because I posted it there, we had somebody today, I removed them as a follower, talk about how, what do you expect? This is a liberal state. And yes, Washington tends to go liberal, but if you look at a map of Washington, it is both conservative and liberal. It's not like this full free-for-all blue state. But it doesn't matter, because I know that I have about a 50-50 split of followers who are Democrats and a 50-50, Democrats and Republicans. And I can tell you that across the board, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. We can all come together and agree that this is a horrific event, and politics has nothing to do with this. Okay. And so I just kind of want to say, for those people who feel that you need to politicize everything, just don't. Because I can tell you that this is not politically motivated. based on the information we have already, we're pretty confident in that. In politics, as somebody just said, is irrelevant in this. And I think that both sides of the aisle, we can all come together and agree that this is a heinous thing, right? Democrats don't like this. Republicans don't like this. It's one thing that both sides can agree on. So I called it out and I removed that person as a follower because I don't want that type of like vibe coming from. I think everybody is welcome here. Okay. But when you start trying to politicize the murder of 3 little girls, I am done. And if I see it, I will 100% call you out. All right. So that being said, I will step down off my soapbox. But I want to give you guys an update on that real quick this morning because, or this afternoon, because that's what's going on. That is a case that I'm also covering, doing videos on. And I know this is about a Diddy update, but definitely wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. So yeah, somebody said a human decency, guys. We can all come together. Yeah, everybody's saying we can all come together on this. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle is. We all want to find Travis Decker. We all hope, well, most of us hope, I hope that he is alive. Because I'd like to see him drugged through the judicial system and receive a very slow, agonizing prison justice. That's what I would like. That's what I would like. In order for that to happen, we got to find him. And I think that we can all agree that we want to find him. So share that photo, get it out there, everyone. Like I said, I'll give you guys an update. Now, that being said, let's get into some Diddy stuff because there is actually some pretty interesting things that I want to share with you. We're going to talk about kind of what happened yesterday in a couple of days because there's some more information. You know, the issue with the Diddy trial is I have multiple sources that I use to get different pieces of information because they all report different things. But there is no recording. There is no live. This isn't like streamed 24, not 24/7, but throughout the trial. So we rely on things and sometimes things come out days later. So there was some interesting testimony that came out about 4 different celebrities that came out in the trial. And basically some really big names were mentioned. Mick Jagger, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Madonna. Mike Myers were some that were brought in. I'm not gonna lie, there's nothing funny about what's going on in this trial. But the part about Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of hilarious, and I'm going to share that with you. So that particular part is why I'm sharing this entire thing with you, and I'm probably going to make its own post about this because it's kind of funny. So Mia, when she was on the stand and was facing an aggressive cross-examination by Brian Steele, she was talking about celebrity stories. The first one was Mick Jagger. According to Mia, while in Paris, Jagger once tried to proposition her, prompting her to run away. No word on whether Mick shouted, "Start me up," on the way out. Sorry, couldn't resist. Couldn't resist. It was a cheap pun, but I did it anyways. Next, Leonardo DiCaprio. This one I think is hilarious. So she recalled a text about Leo grabbing her pink bedazzled BlackBerry at a party. Y'all, it was the 2000s. Don't judge us. Diddy responded by referring to him as that Titanic motherfucker and bragging that he'd won more money gambling at the Oscars. I just want to call somebody that, like, you Titanic MFer. I just want to call somebody that. My new favorite thing. It's going to make no sense outside of that, like, context, but I want to do it anyways. Saying that, that Titanic MFer, only won 10 grand and I won 85 grand. So I thought that part was kind of funny. Then there was Madonna. She testified after leaving Diddy's employment in 2017. She landed a job with Madonna, who, according to Mia, didn't care about any supposed blacklisting. Her role with Madonna was helping her run a film division and restructure her executive team. Although Mia admitted that it morphed into kind of an assistant-esque position. Then, lastly, she talked about having worked with Mike Myers prior to Diddy. And then she talked about, R. Kelly and a thing. Sorry, I think I had a video image for that. Yeah, I meant to put this image up here. We've all seen this image. Sorry, I got distracted and forgot to change the image. And then Mike Myers, like I said, through the days. So then the next story that we heard, and this one's pretty cringeworthy, y'all. I'm sharing this one because it is so cringe. So during Monday's proceedings, Brian Steele was attempting to challenge Mia's R allegation by pointing to a post that she made back in 2013. Steele presented a still image from a comedy video in which Combs was dressed as a doctor, is seen helping Mia deliver. Okay, listen, I want you to really pay attention to this, okay? It's a still image from a video that was posted on social media of Combs dressed like a doctor, helping Mia deliver a fake baby as part of a skit to celebrate his 44th birthday. Under the image, Mia had written, "Shout out to my mentor. Thank you for always letting me give birth to my dreams." Y'all, I'm so embarrassed for them. That's anyways. Steele confronted me over the post, telling the jury, "Here you posted on your personal account that your rapist delivering your baby." And she remained composed as she answered questions about it. And, of course, she went on to testify about everything that happened. But God, so cringe. So, so cringe. Now, getting back into today's event, let's start with kind of a quick recap of where we left off yesterday, which was the conclusion of the testimony from Diddy's former long-term executive, Derek Ferguson. Derek had worked for him for close to 20 years. He served as chief financial officer for Bad Boy Records. He revealed, this was something I didn't report on yesterday, which is also one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up. I need to do a little bit more digging into this, but he revealed a major financial connection that stunned a lot of people who were in the courtroom. So part of Combs' media company, Revolt TV, was owned by a hedge fund that was reportedly linked to Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so this is the first time that we've had an official Epstein Diddy link. It seems to be in a business capacity. It might have just been a holding. We don't know. So I got to do a little bit more digging into that. So stay tuned. Then after court wrapped up yesterday, all right, prosecutors made a special request to the judge regarding courtroom logistics for Wednesday's testimony, what started today. They asked the judge to turn off the live stream feed in the overflow in press rooms when the alleged victim, Jane, takes the stand. Prosecutors voiced concern that non-redacted information, such as exhibits or identifying details, could accidentally be shown to members of the press or public in those rooms, and they could then in turn make that public because she's testifying under a pseudonym. And given what we saw, that one media outlet and a YouTuber posted who Mia really was, despite the confidentiality warnings, that's why they now have to be a little bit more cautious on that. So the judge did grant that request from prosecutors. And basically saying that the exhibits used during her testimonies will not appear on the video feed or be made available for the public. I think that that's the wise decision. The request was brought on by Maureen Comey, and she argued that broadcasting the exhibits could expose her identity. She explained that a large volume of exhibits, such as text messages, and I think this is a preview kind of what we're looking into, but a text message threads will be shown to during Jane's testimony, and displaying them publicly could risk revealing who she is. And she's expected to take the stand later today. So who is she? Who is the mysterious Jane? Well, she's the third alleged victim prosecutors are brought to the stand in this case against him, and she will testify under the pseudonym after the court approved the prosecution's request to keep her identity private. Prosecutors alleged that Combs used lies, substances, threats, and violence to coerce Jane into freak-offs, private performances in which she was forced to sleep with male escorts while Combs watched. According to prosecutors, Jane is a single mother who was allegedly victimized by Combs in 2020. During the opening statements, prosecutor Robert Johnson told jurors the defendant pursued and romanced Jane, who fell in love with him quickly. Jane did not see other men, but the defendant was seeing other women at the time, so his relationship with Jane was not all that public. So now that's what happened yesterday going into today. And so now let's talk about who is currently on the stand. This is a testimony that I was really excited about because it's Bryana Bongalan. Okay, so first, before we get into kind of what's going on with her, she is one who has now invoked her Fifth Amendment right. She's the third or fourth person to come in. They brought her into court saying that she was not going to testify. She was going to invoke the Fifth, self-incrimination, and basically the judge ultimately issued her. They were wanting the judge to issue an immunity order so that it would compel her to testify under protection. And of course, the judge granted that. Now, this is similar to what we've seen with George Kaplan and Eddie Garcia. She is expected to take the stand. She's the one who takes the stand after the forensic video expert, which we're going to talk about here in a second. So that's what we have coming up, and we already do have some information about her. So forensic video expert Frank Piazza took the stand. The jury was presented with text messages between Diddy and his longtime security guard known as D-Rock that were dated from September 2015. In these messages, Combs was showing D-Rock oh God, I cannot talk today. Try that again. Combs was shown directing D-Rock to engage with two people, an unnamed woman Combs referred to as G, and then Cassie at the same time. These messages were read aloud in court. In one exchange, Combs instructed D-Rock to ask, quote, G, end quote, if they had broken up. He told D-Rock to convey that Combs was serious and to press for details about what was happening in the relationship. D-Rock responded that G had said Combs no longer wanted to speak with her, but that she still wished to see him. In other messages, Combs specifically inquired about Ventura's activities, asking what she was doing, instructing D-Rock to stay on top of her, a directive that prosecutors appeared to frame as surveillance-like control over Ventura. Okay. So then this is, we're getting into some of these really interesting photos that we have today. Then when Frank Piazza was being questioned today by a U.S. attorney for direct testimony by Madison Smizer. Now, his primary role in this was to walk the jury through new compilations of the infamous surveillance footage from the March 5th, 2016 brutal beating of Cassie Ventura at the Intercontinental Hotel in L.A. Jurors were first shown a cell phone recorded copy of the surveillance video, a version they have already seen several times throughout the trial. Piazza then presented a newly compiled, enhanced version of the hotel surveillance footage. This compilation included clips organized to track the movement of individuals during the incident, including Combs, Ventura, and security officer Israel Flores, who responded to the scene. Piazza inserted a black screen between the clips to clearly indicate when the camera angle or video clip changed. Prosecutors appeared to be making a pointed effort to have the jury watch this footage, repeatedly emphasizing the importance to their trafficking and racketeering case. The defense, meanwhile, has sought to limit how much the jury can review this footage during deliberations. During the repeated playback of the assault footage in open court, Combs was seen placing his head in his hand while watching the monitor in front of him. He otherwise sat calmly as Piazza answered the questions about the video. So now, I just want real quick. I love this photo, this sketch. Again, if you're on TikTok, you can't see the sketch. You have to jump over to YouTube. But I look at how I feel like the sketch artist is different than what we had at the beginning. I feel like he captures Diddy's better. I feel like the other one was just kind of terrible. But I love that he got the surveillance footage captured in the sketch. I don't know. I just think that he's doing a good job. This sketch art. This is the best we have coming out of the courtroom. This is the best that we're going to get as far as pictures go. But he did testify that the surveillance footage had been manually altered. He explained that he slowed the footage to match real-time speed because the file conversion process had initially caused it to play too fast. Piazza also testified that the timestamps in the footage do not always accurately reflect the actual time of day. It's a common technical quirk with surveillance systems that use motion-activated cameras. He confirmed to the jury that the video compilation he prepared used all available footage he received and that none of the footage showed any signs of tampering. He stated the compilation was a reliable representation of what the hotel surveillance system had actually captured. In addition to the hotel surveillance, Piazza testified that he enhanced 10 explicit videos recovered from a laptop. If you remember, they had a laptop that was Cassie's that she had turned over to the government. Prosecutors stated that these videos, which were originally recorded in 2012 and 2014, were recovered from a user profile labeled Frank Black, which was one of Diddy's aliases on the top laptop. Piazza also enhanced the audio on an additional explicit video. Can I say real quick? This just kind of hit me ADD at the moment. We've been talking about the alias of Frank Black for a while, and we know that he kind of stole that from Biggie, Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, who used the alias Frank White. It's like, dude, you couldn't even come up with your own alias. That's how uncreative you are. Like, he's a great look. Here's the thing: I give credit where credit's due. He's a good producer. All right, the tracks that he can mix and things like that are good. He's good at hiring artists. He's good at manipulating. But God, he's not creative. Not in that aspect, at least. Or maybe it was trying to pay homage to Biggie, but I don't think so, because I think that my opinion is that he was involved in Biggie's death. Nevertheless, let me get back to this. The videos were entered into evidence under seal and were not shown publicly. So it was not shown to the people out in the overflow, just to the jurors, judge, and those who needed to see it. They then asked about, finances. So he testified he's typically hired more often by defense attorneys than by prosecutors, but it seems like he was hired by prosecutors for this one, and he's being paid $295 per hour for his work on this case. So, that's his job. Now, this is another sketch. Then they went into cross. So Tinny Garagos is the one who took cross. She focused heavily on time discrepancies in the surveillance footage. She pointed out that surveillance video clips included time codes that jumped or showed what appeared to be missing time, basically asking whether or not the footage had been cut. So Frank Piazza explained that these timestamp jumps occur because the hotel cameras were motion activated. The system only updates the timestamp when it detects distinct motion. Even if someone is faintly visible in the frame, the timestamp may not update unless sufficient movement is detected. Garagos also questioned why the timestamps differed between cameras. Piazza testified that the hotel's surveillance cameras were not synchronized to a single internal clock. However, he was able to sync the footage across cameras by using overlapping events visible on multiple angles. It's a kind of a cool job what he does. Finally, Garagos asked about the source of the surveillance footage. He said that he received the footage from prosecutors, but did not know where the government obtained it from. So from there, he's done. He's done testifying. He did what he jobbed, and we now have Briana Bongalan on the stand. And for those of you who don't know who she is, we've talked about her a few times. Cassie talked about her a few times. She's filed a civil lawsuit against him. She's testifying under immunity. And she is 33 years old. She is a fashion designer and the creative director of her own art agency. And she is a close friend of Cassie Ventura. So one of the stories that we've heard about her is that he held her, Diddy, Sean Combs, held her over a 17-story balcony. So that was one of the first things that was brought up. Prosecutor Smizer, asked her about an altercation she had with him back in September of 2016. And she said, quote, "I was held over a 17-story balcony," telling jurors that Sean Combs physically dangled her over the edge of this balcony. She further testified that after pulling her back, Combs threw her onto the balcony furniture. She said she sustained injuries during the assault, that she had a bruise on the back of her leg and back and neck pain. Beyond the physical injuries, she testified that she continues to suffer from lasting psychological effects from the incident. She has night terrors and paranoia, and she will scream in her sleep at times because of, being held over the 17-story balcony and dangled over it is pretty traumatizing and pretty effing scary, if you ask me. Now, during her testimony, Briana described Cassie as one of her close friends, telling the jury that they remain friends to this day. She testified that she and Cassie first became friends around 2014, 2015 while working together at the streetwear company Diamond Supply Co. Ventura was already in a relationship with Diddy at that time, though Bongalan said she didn't want to meet him, or she didn't meet him until about a year later. But she said she wasn't really fond of what she was seeing, so she really wasn't wanting to meet him. She explained that she had seen Cassie with a black eye on one occasion, had also seen her visibly upset during phone calls with him. She told the court that she eventually agreed to meet Sean Combs only after Cassie begged her to do so. She also testified about a 2016 shopping trip she took with Cassie while Cassie was dating him. According to Briana, during that outing, Combs somehow learned of all the locations the two women had visited, despite neither of them telling him where they were going. She said that Diddy sent her a list of every place they had been that day. Disturbed by this, the two women returned to Cassie's apartment shortly after receiving the messages. That shows that she was being tracked, right? Shows that she's being tracked. Scary. But this was something that was said, the other day as well by Mia. Then she testified about a disturbing FaceTime call which showed Cassie that took place just after that 2016 hotel assault. That incident was captured on surveillance video. As you all know, it's been shown repeatedly. It was shown again today, this time with a video forensic specialist. She told jurors that Cassie called her during, via FaceTime while getting ready for the premiere of The Perfect Match. That was the film that she was in. During the call, she panned the camera across her face, showing the black eye. Bongalan testified that both she and Ventura were quiet during the call. I remember saying, "I'm sorry." During her earlier testimony, prosecutors had shown jurors a photo of Cassie at that same movie premiere wearing the gown and large black sunglasses that she testified were used to hide the black eye. Briana further testified that she had seen other bruises on Cassie at various times. Then you talk about throwing knives. Throwing knives. This is a new one. This is a new story we haven't heard at all. So Briana being friends with Cassie over the years, she would stay frequently overnight at Cassie's apartment. She told jurors that Diddy would often show up in the middle of the night, banging on the door, which is one of the times where she got, held over the balcony. And and that sometimes Ventura would seem surprised by these late night visits, while other times it just seemed like it was normal. One particular incident stood out in her memory, though. She wasn't able to recall the exact date, but she testified that she was asleep at the apartment. She was awakened by a loud banging on the door, saying Puff was banging on the door. Cassie was in her bedroom, came out of the main room in response. By that point, Combs had already entered the apartment. She said, I just remember seeing a knife get thrown in her direction. She said Combs was standing at the entry door and he just threw a knife towards Cassie, who was standing pretty close to him, like picks up a knife and throws it at Cassie. Throws it at Cassie. Anyways, the knife did not strike Cassie, fortunately, but it came pretty close to hitting her. Cassie, in turn, picked up the knife and threw it back at him, but her throw did not make contact either. So both of them should not throw knives, I guess. After this exchange, Combs left the apartment. She told the court that she doesn't remember whether she and Cassie had used substances that night. She also said she did not call the police about the incident, explaining simply, I was scared of Puff. That's kind of been a common theme. Now, she talked about another disturbing encounter. I'm going to give you guys a preview of what's coming up in a second on the end of day recap, because I read this ahead of time because they're already back in court. She testified about another disturbing encounter with Combs back in 2016. She told jurors that she was in Malibu doing a photo shoot on the beach with Cassie. During the shoot, Combs approached her and issued a menacing threat. He's saying, quote, he came up really close to my face and said something along the lines of, I'm the devil and I could kill you. Okay. Diddy came up to her and said, I'm the devil and I can kill you. This is not the first time he's made death threats, right? She said she didn't understand why he made that threat and could not tell whether he was on substances at the time, saying that she was terrified, but she admitted that she was on the white powdery nose gold at the time. I told you I'll give you a preview. This is apparently not the first time he's called himself the devil, from what I've learned, and apparently we're going to find out later today. I'm going to give you guys a trigger warning on this for animal cruelty. I'm going to just put that in here real quick. If you don't want to hear this, earmuffs or scroll out for 3 seconds or like 30 seconds, then come back if you don't want to hear this. I'm going to give you like 3 seconds to do that, and I'm going to tell you what we know that's coming up. All right, 1, 2, 3. So apparently, in later testimony that we're going to hear from after lunch, again, I've already kind of looked a little bit over that. She talks about that. I guess I didn't read into full detail yet. Something about him skinning a dog, like him skinning a dog. So, and calling himself the devil again. So just kind of letting y'all know that. And that's something that's going to be coming up this afternoon, apparently. So he's a monster, y'all. Just no matter how you look at it, he is a monster. So then she describes the use of their substances. During testimony, she provided insight into the role that substances played in social circles surrounding him. Okay. She testified that Diddy had personally given her substances on a few occasions. She said she had witnessed Combs using various things, including the green leafy stuff, ketamine, and the white powdery nose gold. She further testified that she and Cassie would often use substances together. She told jurors that their substance use was a regular occurrence, stating that she and Cassie would use them weekly. At times, she said that she and Cassie made efforts to stop, that they wanted to do better. She said that during those periods of trying to stay sober, they would attempt to focus on healthier activities, cooking together instead of using substances. However, she admitted that these efforts at sobriety never lasted. So that's what we got, y'all. That's the midday recap. Make sure to follow and subscribe if you don't. If you're watching on anything, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, if you don't follow me already, please hit that follow button. I'm covering this on a daily basis. We'll be back later today for the end of the day recap, of course, for anybody who's here who wants to see that. But following is something free that you can do. I don't ask you guys to subscribe. I don't ask you guys, for super chats on YouTube or to subscribe on Facebook, or I think it stars on Facebook and whatever it is on Instagram. And I don't ask for gifts on TikTok. So something free that you can do to help support my coverage and everything is just hit that follow button. Somebody asked about what time this evening. I'm not sure, but here's a great thing for me to tell you guys on that. If you came in late to this, if you came in late and you're like, man, I hate that I missed this. These are These are recorded, archived on my YouTube under the Diddy playlist. The Sean Diddy Comes playlist. They are all there, so you can go back and watch them. So if you miss, I'm not sure what time because my daughter's got some stuff tonight and I've got to do a sub live. So I'm hoping to get it done earlier before we pick her up, but I'm not sure yet what time. And I hate to say that. I know I can't, it's hard to not be consistent, but hopefully fairly early. I don't think it's going to be that long, the next one. Well, maybe it will. I don't know. But yeah, just hit the follow button and we'll be back. And like I said, if you miss it or you're out of the time zone, you go to sleep, just know that the recaps will always be on YouTube archived for you guys to go back and watch whenever you want. And it's the same name on all platforms, Just in the Nick of Crime. Thank you guys so much. I will see y'all soon. Have a great rest of the day.